Hello and welcome back to another EDH deck tech idea. Today we are featuring Elas il-Kor, Sadistic Pilgrim. It is a 2-mana 2/2 with Death Touch, and whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life, and whenever another creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life. We are in Orzhov colors, we have a Drain commander, so this is exactly what we are going to do. We want to drain out our opponents and draw a lot of value from sacrificing our creatures. First of all, draining our opponents by 1 takes a lot of time, so we could use a little bit of support. This is why we play Starscape Cleric, a 2-mana 2/1 with Offspring for 3 mana, so you can also cast a spell for 5 mana to get a 1/1 token copy of it. This creature is flying, it can't block, but whenever you gain life, each opponent loses 1 life. Especially creatures that drain your opponents when you gain life are extremely powerful in this deck, as we will create a lot of tokens which will trigger Elas il-Kor all the time. We play Cruel Celebrant, a 2-mana 1/2, and when it or another creature or planeswalker you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Mirkwood Bats, a 4-mana 2/3 with Flying, and whenever you create or sacrifice a token, each opponent loses 1 life. We play Marionette Apprentice, a 2-mana 1/2 with Fabricate 1, so it can either enter with a +1/+1 counter on it, or it also brings a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. Whenever another creature or artifact you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life. We play Corpse Knight, a 2-mana 2/2, and whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses 1 life, which is a powerful drainer that we definitely want to play, as he is part of the Gravecrawler Phyrexian Altar Infinite combo, which we also play in this deck. We play Zulaport Cutthroat, a 2-mana 1/1, and when it or another creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Now we will need a bunch of tokens so we can sacrifice them to trigger all of those drain abilities. So we play Bitter Blossom, a 2-mana tribal enchantment, and at the beginning of your upkeep you lose 1 life and you create a 1/1 black fairy rogue creature token with Flying. We don't care about losing that 1 life, as with Elas il-Kor on the battlefield we will immediately gain 1 life back. So for 2 mana we will get a 1/1 token in each of our upkeeps. We play Andraxar, Master Breeder, a 5-mana 2/2, and whenever you cast a creature spell, create X 1/1 black Thrall creature tokens where X is that spell's mana value. When you control 7 or more Thralls, sacrifice Andraxar, Master Breeder. Due to most of our creatures being really cheap, we will never come to the point of having 7 or more Thralls, and in addition to that we will prevent that from happening, because in response of casting a creature spell we will just sacrifice a few of our Thralls into an outlet, so Andraxar might stay on the battlefield for the whole game. We play Oketra's Monument, a 3-mana legendary artifact, and white creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast, and whenever you cast a creature spell, create a 1/1 white warrior creature token with Vigilance, which is a great artifact in this deck because it doesn't care about casting white creature spells, it cares about general creature spells to create those 1/1 tokens, and having a discount can also be helpful. We play Ophiomancer, a 3-mana 2/2, and at the beginning of each upkeep, if you control no snakes, create a 1/1 black snake creature token with Death Touch. In every end step, either of ours or our opponents, we will just sacrifice a snake into an outlet, so we can get another one as soon as we go into the next upkeep. Jadar, Ghoulcaller of Nephalia, a 2-mana 1/1, and at the beginning of your end step, if you control no creatures with Decayed, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decayed. And last but not least we play Skrelv's Hive, a 2-mana enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep you lose 1 life and create a 1/1 colorless Phyrexian Might artifact creature token with Toxic, and this creature can't block. It also has Corrupted, which you might achieve in some games. As long as an opponent has 3 or more poison counters, creatures you control with Toxic have lifelink. And now let's talk about our sacrifice outlets. Wowstrider, a 3-mana 3/2, and when it enters, create a 0/1 white goat creature token. You can sacrifice another creature at instant speed to scry 1, and you can escape it for 5 mana and exiling 4 cards from your graveyard. And Wowstrider escapes with 2 +1/+1 counters on it. We play Attrition, a 3-mana enchantment, and for 1 black mana and sacrificing a creature, destroy target non-black creature. This enchantment will also help you to keep the board in check while sacrificing your creatures for more value. We play Bartolomé del Presidio, a 2-mana 2/1, and sacrifice another creature or artifact to put a +1/+1 +1 counter on it. We also play Carrion Feeder, a 1 mana 1/1, and it can't block and sacrifice a creature to put a 1/1 counter on Carrion Feeder. We will draw even more advantage by sacrificing our creatures into Priest of the Forgotten Gods, a 2 mana 1/2, and you can tap it and sacrifice 2 other creatures. So any number of target players each lose 2 life and sacrifice a creature, and you add 2 black mana and draw a card. We also play Cartel Aristocrat, a 2 mana 2/2, and sacrifice another creature. Cartel Aristocrat gains protection from the color of your choice until end of turn. This creature will block any incoming attack, as you will just declare it as a blocker, sacrifice a creature into its ability, and give protection from the color of the creature that's attacking you. And now let's speed up the process of draining our opponents out. Teysa Karlov, a 4 mana 2/4, and if a creature dying costs the triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. Furthermore, creature tokens you control have Vigilance and Lifelink. Doubling all of our drain triggers is extremely helpful in this deck, as we are mostly draining just for 1 or 2 life, so doubling that will speed up the process. Delney, Streetwise Lookout, a 3 mana 2/2, and creatures you control with power 2 or less can't be blocked by creatures with power 3 or greater, and if an ability of a creature you control with power 2 or less triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. A lot of our drain creatures have power 2 or less, so it is another nice doubling effect. We also play Driftnaught, Carnage Dominus, a 5 mana 8/3, and if a creature dying costs a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. You can also pay 2 black Phyrexian mana and exile 3 creature cards from your graveyard to put an indestructible counter on Driftnaught. You want to win more? You get it. Bolas the Citadel, a 6 mana legendary artifact, and you may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may play the top card of your library. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its converted mana cost rather than pay its mana cost. You can also tap it and sacrifice 10 non-land permanents, so each opponent loses 10 life. Due to the fact that we are in an Aristocrats deck, our mana curve is really low, which allows us to play not that many lands. So there is a certain chance that for quite a long time you will hit non-land permanents from the top of your library, which you can keep casting over and over, and if you also hit creatures you will make up for some of the life lost this way by gaining life with Elas il-Kor. Another card that we have to play in this deck is Grave Pact, a 4 mana enchantment. Whenever a creature you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, each other player sacrifices a creature. With this enchantment on the battlefield you will keep the board in check while you drain your opponents out. Of course we play Sanguine Bond, a 5 mana enchantment. Whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. Due to Elas il-Kor gaining us life when a creature enters the battlefield, we will always trigger Sanguine Bond, and a lot of our other drain effects also drain our opponents for life while we gain life, which will trigger Sanguine Bond again. Alright guys, these were a few cards that I would play in Elas il-Kor Sadistic Pilgrim. Let me know down in the comments below which cards you would add to the deck. Check out my full deck list in the notes of this video, and also let me know which legendary creature I shall feature next. See you in the next one. Goodbye guys.